Hi, welcome to another edition of Never Too Late. I'm your host, Carol, the program that inspires you to follow your dreams. Never Too Late speaks to the 50-plus community, but not only to the 50-plus community, but it has a universal message that there is for anyone who has a dream and they want to make that dream happen. And with me today, my guest is a part of the 50-plus community, and it is Mr. Robert Garrett. He has been on the show previously, but he has now wears the cap of producer and soon to be director. So we want to just welcome Mr. Robert Garrett to the show.
Thank you, Carol. Great to be back.
He is the CEO and president of Xmoor Studios. He's a man that wears many hats, but he's an extremely gifted and talented writer. He's a member of the comic book community. There's a huge community out there of African American comic book writers and creators and illustrators. So, welcome to the show, Mr. Robert Garrett.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Glad to have you back. And for the sake of our viewers, first, let's have you tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born and raised in New Jersey, Jersey City to be exact, and I've been writing since I was in the 5th grade. And my main focus, of course, was, working, trying to do the family outlets and being creative at the same time, which always didn't work out. But, my whole goal, vision, even when I was a kid, was to be a writer. And I think I stuck with it enough, and now it's time for me to take that next jump after doing my family and, doing the priority is to become creative and as in creative of your own works and seeing things that I think we haven't seen in the industry as far as comics and even independent film properties.
Mm-hmm. And what type of writing do you specialize? I know what do you specifically like, but for the sake of our viewers, your special genre of writing that you specialize in?
Oh, I do science fiction, action adventure, but I love fantasy. And I think it also is the point of, since being a kid writer, writing when I was in school, we used to lock ourselves in the basement and just be creative. So I just love sitting in there and listening to ideas, and then world building, as my business partner loves to call it. He goes like, you just like to sit there and write about worlds, new worlds, exciting historical facts and everything.
And his business partner is Mr. Eric.
No, Sella Diaz.
That's right. They're usually inseparable. So I have the other half. I have the first half here is Mr. Robert Garrett. But Mr. Eric has his own specialty himself. Toys, very gifted and talented also.
Very.
So, and I think you two work very well together. I have to put that in because it's so hard to find somebody that you can be on the same page with. So when you find somebody and you're on the same page and other people can see that you work well together, the fact that y'all are independent, yet you come together and then you collaborate and you do projects together, which is fantastic.
Very hard to find.
Yeah, very hard to find, which we're going to talk about later on, about collaboration versus by yourself.
Right.
The pros and cons, the good, bad. But before we get to that, let's talk about, did you take some courses? Because, we always start out, we have that, like you said, 9 to 5, we do the family thing and still want to work on our dream, what we want to do. And sometimes you put your dream on hold, it's on the back burner. And until you get a little bit older or you're forced to enter into that dream, you got no choice now.
Right.
So did you take any courses? Sometimes we take workshops, or did you go to school?
I took workshop after workshop after workshop, but I also had a year and a half when I went to the New School of Social Research, and I was taking basic writing classes, preliminary directing courses, and I even took a class on Shakespearean dialect because I wanted to listen to the way Shakespeare broke down his characters. And, if you can listen and, envision this kind of writing. I think it helps you, you know, in your own basic skill set.
Now, is it important to have a portfolio for your writing? You know, most people don't know about having a portfolio for a writer.
Right.
You know?
Oh, it's definitely, you know, that's one of the things when I was growing up. They were like, you know, as a writer, nobody wants to sit anyway and read a mass, you know, manuscript or anything. So it's easier now than what it is when I was growing up, because I used to walk around with the scripts and everything else, and they look at you like, are you kidding? I'm not reading that. But nowadays, you can just put it online. You can have your blog or whatever, and people can just go there and get a taste of what you're doing. But it's better when you have something to show. Whereas I see so many people come to me and they go, well, I got ideas, but I don't know how to put it across or interpret it. And I'm like, if you can't do that, then how are you going to sit in a business meeting or talk to a corporate, you know, somebody to sponsor you when you cannot give them something to read or just right off the bat tell them your concepts or your ideas? So you need that. You do need a portfolio.
Yeah. What were some of the knocks and bruises? Because I know it has not been easy.
Oh, wow. Well, basically one is, of course, the African American, you know, writers are not really given that, you know, shot as easy as a regular writer, and it's hard being a writer to begin with. And it's also a knock when you're an African American, because I don't know, it's the industry says they want diversity, but then when you try to put it out there, you get more of a, oh, they want the negative diversity. They don't want the positive, you know, creativity that goes into it.
Y'all don't talk like that.
Right.
Y'all talk like
I've
this,
heard
so
that
you're
so many
supposed to
times.
write that into the script.
And it's amazing that you got, you know, to deal with that, but they'll smile at you when they're saying it like they're trying to be helpful. And then we have our own who, I don't know why, we figure there's only like 1 or 2 slots for all of the African American creators, and we're all got to fight it out just to get in there. So everybody's trying to keep the other guy from getting in there before they do.
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem we have.
And I think that needs to be discussed more, especially in the African American community, because we're under this delusion that everything is okay. You know, there's no more, you know, marching, no more hollering, you know, this isn't right. We don't have to do none of that. And in every genre, every field I speak to someone, when it comes to us, it's still the same thing.
Of course.
You know, and I think our young people get disillusioned by that, and then they're like, I thought everything was okay.
Right.
You know, and your best ideas get stolen, and your best thoughts and your creations, and you're like, you know.
But if you sit on it, and then so many other people, it's such a vast majority of writers out there, if you're not out there fighting and putting in the work, you can forget about it this day and age. There's millions of people out there. The competition is going to be there. It's not just African Americans and us working on it, because there's so many people writing all of these ideas. We all know there's no such thing as an original idea. It's your interpretation.
Idea is universal. It's out there. You know, and once it comes to your head, it's coming to 3 or 4 other 100,000 heads right along with yours.
Exactly.
You know, and the fact that you know, things have not changed, but it's like you said, you have to put the work in. You know, and sometimes, especially young people, they think that, oh, like you said, I got an idea, and it's just going to happen just like that.
Right. And the most curious things are, we are worst critics. You know, we look for things in our, you know, our work, our creativity. There's times when I'm writing something and I'll post it, and you'll get attacked by so many people. Oh, you're taking this idea or you're taking that idea, without them doing the research. But they're so manufactured in their thought process that they figure if it looks like something, you must have taken it from the big machines that's already out there. And it's a very weird circumstance.
Not thinking outside of the box. You know.
Big time.
few, very few were thinking outside of the box.
Exactly.
You know, and I guess that's why the importance of being independent. More and more people are getting that, you know, I'll be independent.
Yeah.
You know, like a friend I heard him say, he said, I learned long ago that I wanted to run the show.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he said that helped him settle what he was going to do.
Yeah.
You know?
With my personality, it doesn't work for me not to be independent.
That's right. You have the same motto, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the works that Mr. Garrett from Xmoor Studios. If you just tuned in, my guest is Mr. Robert Garrett, and he is the CEO and president of Xmoor Studios. And he is also a comic book writer, publisher, creator. And let's talk a bit about Ajala, this young lady.
Right. That's the third book in the series so far. We've had 4 different books, a preview issue, and then 3 other issues. This is the third book in the series. And it's about a 13-year-old girl in Harlem who joins a society that educates and polices the community since the 1920s. So I wanted to add a little bit of an educational aspect, but also the wonder and adventures that a 13-year-old girl could put herself in different situations. And we've won, over the summer, we won for Best African American Female Character in the Lips Award, which is more like the, you know, African American comic awards like the Eisners or the others. So it's becoming a very popular book.
Very
Thank
good.
goodness.
And Mr. Stephen Harris.
And Stephen Harris is the illustrator and the co-creator of the property.
And this is a very good book. You put some education in here. And now, does she go in and out of time through this book?
No. What I did was I put it that the society that she's joined has existed, but different members of her family have become part of this whole society. And her great-great-grandfather was one of the founding members. So there's a lot of expectations on her for being this individual that comes from a family that's been involved in the society for so long.
And you'll have to get the comic to find out exactly what Miss Ajala is all about. Now, the next one we have is Hero Born. Now, tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, we debuted that book at the New York Comic Con in October, and it's been getting a lot of, press and people coming to look for it. It's about an African-American superhero team that's assassinated before the book begins, and Hero-born are the children, the sons and daughters of this super team who will now have to survive in a world that's dominated by supervillains. So I wanted to do something in the sense of we got Justice League, we have all these other characters, but introduce an entire group of superheroes that are African American, but nobody's holding the flag up. Nobody's saying, hey, look at us. It's all about telling a story about characters that happen to look like us. Whereas I don't want it to be something where we're doing that kind of, thought-provoking process. There's other books for that. I just want a straight action Avengers series.
Yeah, so you just want a good action series with characters that are African American. Right. So these are the children of the heroes who were assassinated.
Right.
Oh, now that's interesting. And you'd have to get this book in order to read more about it. And now we have Warrior Island. This looks interesting. Tell us a little bit about this.
That's Xmoor Studios' first intellectual collaboration with a franchise. We were approached by Global Proving Ground, which happens to be an MMA fighting organization. And they're working on doing a reality show like Survivor meets, Love and Hip Hop, I don't know. Yeah. And it's based on an island where all these fighters from around the world, real fighters, have to come to this island and battle and survive to become who's the elite fighter. And it deals with the Grand Masters, who are legendary fighters, Ron Van Cleve, the Renzo brothers, Chow, Sifu Chow, and everything. So I took that idea and made it into a science fiction. And I put that the island not only inhabits all of these fighters, but it's also alive. It has the spirit of valor and also the negativity that goes on in fighting, and when you overdo the skill set and not worry about the people around you. And I wanted to put it that the elite fighters and the champions have to battle to maintain this power that could destroy everybody if it isn't controlled. So that's going to be the process.
So this is, now you have a series of characters in this in this book.
All based on real martial arts fighters. Like those two gentlemen that's fighting at the bottom are, one is a MMA fighting champion and the other one is an upcoming fighting champion. And they're like totally psyched up to see themselves running through here. And, you know, I wanted to do Enter the Dragon meets, you know, Survivor.
Oh, cool. So you have MMA fighters.
Right.
And you have martial art
and
masters.
legendary film masters like Ron Van Cleef has been around since Bruce Lee and Jim Kelly. So
okay, so this really sounds, I know my son would really be interested in this. I know that a lot of kids would really love this. Now, when did you do this book?
We got approached by them at the end of the year, end of 2013, and been working and putting it all together. And right now we're getting ready to jump into the second book.
Okay, so this is out now.
Right, this is out. This just came out for Comic-Con. Okay. Everything debuted at Comic-Con, you know, the big show. So now we're pushing past that.
Now, Warrior Island and Hero Boy debuted at Comic-Con.
Right.
Okay.
And also the third issue of Ajala.
And the third issue of Ajala.
Right.
Yes. This you've got to get this book. This is very, very good. Very good. All of them are very good. Came out with these. Now, this one here, you have The Road to Iron. Now, what is this about?
That was a commission, like a second commission that we got. We're getting approached by different organizations, which I hope continues, but that was from the Sotheby's International Realty Company. Approached me to do a book for their senior executive vice president, and he was retiring. So they wanted me to put a book together about him joining the Ironman competition and losing weight and becoming, like, you know, a much healthier individual, but it was a surprise. So we basically had 2 weeks to put together that book and get it ready for the party. And we put it all together and it went through. They put it up on silver platters and everything and put it out at his birthday party.
Oh, so, you know, Mr. Garrett will also do a book for you personally if you approach him, and also he has Hero Born on the back.
Making it seem like a real comic book. Has to do the effect. So.
This is very good. That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good idea. I think now in order to do this, you know, there is a process.
Right.
Okay, so explain for our viewers who are out there, and also younger ones, what's your process?
No, it's different process. It's like for the your own creator-owned properties. It's the whole process of getting your concept together, doing the research, and, you know, without the writing, you can't start the artwork. You can always get some kind of characterizations going on, but it's the point of teaming up with the right artists, getting the characterizations done, also what we call the turnarounds, like solo images, so you know what the character is going to look like. Lock it in. Do the research also to make sure nobody has that character, because you don't want to wind up in court.
Yeah,
you know, names, everything has to be looked up. You just can't come up. I see so many people that just put a character out there, slap a name on it, and then go, we're ready, and I'll look and I'll go, that character's been done already. And if it's done by one of the bigger companies, you can wind up getting, you know, cease and desist, lawsuit, or whatever.
Yeah. So
you have to, as I always say, study the industry. Don't just assume I can write, I'm going to put out an idea. And you got to get the, like I said, the right artist. If you're not an artist, sometimes you have artist creators, so they just do it all together. But you got to do the concept, get the right artist, get the pages done, sequential artwork, go for that, make sure that everything matches what you feel it should on the page. And once again, it goes back to knowing the industry. Don't just put a book out for your own entertainment, because you can always sit in the house and enjoy it. Yes. But if you're going to put it out there to the market, at least do something that you think is people are going to be interested in. You know, and that's another fault that we have in there with the industry. A lot of people just write for themselves, but they feel like because they like it, everybody's going to like it.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily the case.
A lot.
You know, you might like it and everybody might hate it.
Right.
You know, and to do your research
Mm-hmm.
and then also know the history
Exactly.
behind the industry, whatever you're going into, whether it be comic book writing, music,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, medicine, science, always know the history behind it also, so you get yourself a good foundation.
Exactly. And I always say test. You know, test the market, test whatever. You have so many outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Go out there. Do a little, you know, introduction of your work. You know, of course, cover it, copyright it, you know, make sure that nobody can steal it. But get it out there. A lot of people are so afraid of people stealing their work that they hold on to it and won't show it to anybody. And then when it comes out, you realize you don't have a market because you never even bothered to see if anybody wanted to, you know, look at your work.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is a great fear of people stealing your work out there, but I always say nobody can steal what you put out there. It's your own interpretation. You gotta have your own look, your own attitude. Images can be taken all the time. We already know that. But
it's
if you got your uniqueness, right? That's your unique style. Mm-hmm. So get out there, test the market, and see what people like, if they like it or if they don't like it. And then you have to get the colorist, the letterer, and
it's a lot
printer.
to the process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to the process. Because I'm even more educated about the process of as far as putting together a comic book and that little bubble that they call that's your letter and all
and everything. Yeah, because a lot of people say, oh, it's just a comic, so you know, there's no real work to it. Somebody just magically draws the pictures and hey, you got a comic book.
Yeah, but there's a lot to it. It's a lot to the process.